Okay, Carson, I always say this, it's a favorite topic of mine. Influencers sometimes come in a second, sometimes they come in a lifetime and stuff. And I always share one of my first influencers was my grandfather, him, my grandmother, my mom, my aunt. They came from Kiev in Ukraine and immigrated to Canada, and I grew up there. And my grandfather used to take me for walks in the park when I was like 5, and he used to talk to everybody. So I obviously got his DNA somehow in there, but he talked to everybody. And one day I just asked him, and I called him Zeta, how do you know all these people? And he looked at me and he looked up. He said, "You see this person coming up to me now?" I remember him pointing to him and said, one day I smiled at him and he looked at me and then he smiled back at me and came over and we started talking. And then someone else saw us laughing and came over to us and the same thing. And my 5-year-old brain is going, life's going to be easy. I just have to smile
Mhm.
at people. And I remember that thinking process, even in a weird way, of that. And then you get older a little bit and you kind of over expert. And then you get wiser and you under expert and say it sometimes can just be a smile, which relates to some of the physiological and stuff we've even been talking about. So with that said, I know we all have many. Can you share two or three people that have been influential in your life?
Yeah, gosh, great question. Yeah, I can. The first of which was an English teacher I had in high school named Mr. Ahern. And he came into my life right as I was 17 years old, and I had had a kind of an awakening for another conversation, but I had gotten turned on. And in this class, he had introduced the class to things that I call Spirituality 101. So he introduced us to the book, The Tao of Pooh, which is a Taoist version of the Tao, I'm sorry, of Winnie the Pooh.
Right.
It's a great book, and he also introduced us to the Tao Te Ching, which is a very seminal Chinese philosophical spiritual text, which is beautiful. It's about nature and it's wonderful, very influential for me. He also turned us on to Cat Stevens, and he also turned us on to Harold and Maude, and
Boy,
and so those,
he's diverse.
yeah, exactly. There's a whole range of things, but it was very helpful because it was all of those things were exactly the things that I needed at the time. And he was new to the school and he was very focused and he was a good guy. Only had him for a semester and then he left the school and things it's just kind of how these things happen. But he's always remained very influential for me and I actually wish I would be able to give him thanks, and I've tried to hunt him down, but I'm not able to do that. But so he's an influence on me for sure.
Mhm.
Then another fellow who was involved in the oversight of this New Age bookstore that I was involved with in Santa Cruz. He was the president of the organization that ran everything, including the bookstore. But he was a very serious person. He was a very serious, he's not, I should say is, because he hasn't passed away, but very serious yogi, meditator. He is a very serious creative educator. He was the founder of the class that my wife, she apprenticed under him and is now running this class. He was the one that started the class.
Mhm.
He's a builder. He helped construct and direct the construction of massive buildings all throughout this property that I was telling you about. Anyway, just and he was the translator of of a yogi. His name is Baba Haridas. He passed away, but this fellow translated Baba Haridas's writings on the Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, he's just a Renaissance person, just an amazing guy and deep, deep presence to the nuance of all things, values, spiritual inquiry, so forth. So very influential person for me and one that I revere.
No kidding. Is there one more you can think of?
Oh gosh, I would, the person that comes to mind too, would probably be my grandmother, on my mom's side. She just passed away at 101,
Wow.
and she lived a remarkable life. She had 5 children, but she kept, back in the 60s, they had Reagan to their house as part of their, because they were Republicans and fundraisers and so forth for the Republican Party. But then, when she passed away, she was a hardcore progressive Democrat, not and not to say that, whatever, it's all good, whatever your
Yeah.
political spectrum is, but she just demonstrated an ability to change. And she was always very caring and always very present, whip smart, just whip smart at 101. I mean, she could barely keep up with her, intellectually. She had five kids and tons of grandkids and tons of great grandkids and was always on point with what everyone was doing and just nothing but pure kindness and love. So she's an influencer and she's on my mind because she passed, like I mentioned, maybe 6 weeks ago, something like that, 8 weeks ago. So
Well, yeah, I can feel it with my 97-year-old aunt up in Montreal and stuff. You said you'd like to thank him. That's what's even more great about some of these people is like I mentioned Mr. Holland's Opus, the movie. They're doing it because they want to do it, and it's so nice when you see them being thanked and they're surprised about all they and one fellow. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but this guy, his name was Harry Winston, who helped all these kids escape Czechoslovakia
I
before
don't
the
know that
Nazis
story.
took over. So emotional to see how they show him. I mean, I'm emotional talking about it.
Yeah,
All
I
the people that he
know those feelings.
impacted,
It's beautiful.
absolutely incredible. And it takes somebody really strong it's like planting a tree, but you never see it
Yeah.
the whole way. And
Well, what's also beautiful too about that story, about Harry Winston's story, is no one knew he did it. His wife didn't even know until she was, I guess, going through the attic and found some old these like charts and these records of these names of these people and they were much old. I don't know when their age was, but it was, I mean, he didn't tell her and
that's
they'd
why
been
it's
married
so
for like 30,
incredible.
40 years or something. It's just incredible. Incredible.
Especially with the lacking of deferred gratification these
Oh,
days.
oh my gosh.
Um, those are great stories to tell about what it's really all about and stuff.
Absolutely.
So thanks for sharing all that. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.